Hey, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on Amazon optimization strategies. I am Stephanie Chandler. I'm your host. I'm so thrilled to have you joining me today. I am CEO of the Nonfiction Authors Association and Writers Conference. This is material I have not presented previously as a webinar or as a public session. Actually, these slides are straight out of our module in our book marketing master course on Amazon selling. So this is to select slides and select bits of information from that module in the book marketing master course. And I'm going to give you a brief preview of that course at the end of the presentation. But the point here is this is a meaty presentation. I would expect you're probably going to want to take some notes. And yes, we will share the slides at the end of the day here today, along with the recording to all who registered. So let's get moving here. Amazon is a beast. It is estimated that they sell 50 to 70% of all the books in the world. And that's a big deal, right? So, and they sell roughly 75% of all ebooks. They own Audible. They're selling the bulk of audiobooks. So we just can't deny that they are huge and they're important. And whether you like them or not, if you want to sell books successfully, we really have to embrace selling on Amazon. So it's just important. So let's talk about understanding kind of the Amazon engine and how the rankings work. So what you're seeing here are how the bestsellers rank works. So there's two ranks to pay attention to. There's overall sales, which is the bestsellers rank that you'll see on any book page on Amazon. And then there's category ranking. So these show you two different things. They show you the rankings are happening every hour. So they're changing every hour. And it's basically two things. The overall sales are comparing how your books are selling compared to all books on Amazon. And the category ranking is showing you how your book is selling compared to other books in that specific category. So in this example here, we see Mark Paul's book, The Greatest Gambling Story Ever Told. And it is in the categories, it's number 8 in sports gambling books, number 9 in horse racing, number 37 in Southern US biographies, right? Amazon has some wild categories, but it's a bestseller rank. Its overall rank on the site is 73,000. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit more, but it's important to be paying attention to your rank. Now, this is estimated daily sales based on your overall rank. And I will say these figures are changing constantly because of the number of books on Amazon. But in general, if your rank is 100,000 or higher, you're selling less than a book a day. And I would say that's the case for a lot of authors, right? If you're new to this, it takes time to build that momentum. Your goal is probably to get your sales rank down below 100,000. But the ultimate bottom line here is you want your rank to be a lower number. The lower, the better is the overall rank. And it's also different depending on the version of your book. So your Kindle rank is going to be different than your paperback rank, and that's going to be different than your hardcover rank. So each has their own bestsellers rank on Amazon, and they also have their own categories on Amazon. So categories are important here, and let me explain why. So the categories you'll see here are also different by edition. So your Kindle edition has different categories than your paperback and your hardcover. And this is important because this is where we get extra visibility, is based on the categories where our books appear. So if your book is at the top of a category, my goal personally is to be in the top 10 of one or two categories at all times, not just for a day when the book launches, but on an ongoing basis. And if you're doing the work to market your books, this is 100% a reasonable goal to achieve, is to be in the top of certain categories on Amazon. So here you see Mark Paul's book. This is a different time where it's number 1 in sports gambling in the Kindle store. It was also at the same time #1 in track betting, #3 in horse racing. And these figures, this book has sold really well. So it hovers in the top 10 to 15 of multiple categories. And the point of categories is that if people are searching Amazon for these categories, if they're browsing through the sports gambling category, Mark Paul's book is being seen by a lot of visitors. This is the point of being at the top of categories. I think a lot of authors have approached this as a way to be a, quote, best-selling author. Get to the top of a category, call yourself a best-selling author. I'm not a big fan of that as a strategy because there's not a lot of long-term value. So again, my goal is to continue marketing and keeping my book in the top of 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 categories like Mark Paul is doing on an ongoing basis. That is our goal with book marketing. So just to be clear, there are 2 different rankings. The overall sales rank compares your book sales against all other books on Amazon. The lower, the better. I think if you wanted to set a goal, you want your books to be, your overall rank to be under 100,000. That means you're selling more than a book a day. For your category rank, this is how your book is rating against other books in a category. Some categories are huge. The memoir and biography category probably has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of titles at this point. But sports memoirs are a much smaller subcategory. So it's easier to get to the top of those categories and be visible to people who are browsing those categories for books like yours. And really just keep in mind, the lower your numbers in either of these, the better. So more about categories. Categories help make your book discoverable. This is, like I said, people come and browse categories on Amazon to find books. But when you publish your book or when your publisher publishes the book, you submit suggested categories to Amazon and the other retailers, or your publisher does that for you. Typically, you can only submit 3 suggested categories, and that might be, biographies about sports, it might be memoir, it might be a celebrity memoir, whatever it is, you choose 3 BIZAC categories. Now, BIZAC categories are kind of the industry standard. They help bookstores, Amazon, libraries know where to shelve the book. But then Amazon does its own thing, right? Amazon has its own categories. So when your book is published, you're choosing 3 categories, but Amazon then chooses its own categories and where it's going to place your book. The good news is you have some control over this. And ultimately what we want is for our book to appear and in as many categories as possible in hopes of gaining more visibility within these categories. So here's an example of this book, Girl Walks Out of a Bar. This is a memoir about addiction. You'll see here that she's got a paperback and a Kindle edition. The paperback shows that her bestseller rank is 22,000. The book is selling really well. It's under 100,000, like that's our goal. This is the paperback edition. It's number 89 in alcoholism recovery, which means there are 88 other books ahead of hers in the alcoholism recovery category. It's number 409 in women's biographies, which means 408 books are selling better than hers. So is that starting to make sense, hopefully? And then in the Kindle, it also has a Kindle bestsellers rank, 49,000 is good, and number 36 in alcoholism. So Kindle has oftentimes separate categories, different categories than where the paperbacks are being listed. Okay, so this is important, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So let's say you go and you search Amazon. And by the way, this is something I personally do. I like memoirs about specific topics, memoirs about grief, memoirs about divorce, memoirs about parenting. And if you're writing these types of books, memoir, narrative, nonfiction, these are the things you should be thinking about. What is your target reader searching for? So here I did a search on memoir about grief. And when I made this search was a couple months ago, the #1 bestseller at that time was Crying in H Mart, and that's still done really, really well. I think it's hit the New York Times bestsellers list. But also interesting to note, it's selling really well, but it's also a #1 in gastronomy essays. So when I talk about these subcategories on Amazon, this is what I mean. There's tons of them. And if I'm somebody who reads gastronomy literature and I search that category, this book is at the top. Now, in my search results, among the top results that came back is the book I Did Not Kill My Husband, which, by the way, is self-published. And at the time I did the search, it was selling well enough to be featured in the top of the search results. Okay, this is all going to make sense here soon. So I know it's overwhelming, but you can look up what categories your book is currently listed in. So this is a great, really cool link from nerdybookgirl.com/book-category-hunter. And again, I will share these slides. If somebody wants to type the link into the chat, that would be great. But this is where you can go, type in your book's ISBN number and find out what categories your book is currently listed in. But here's what you also want to do. You want to find out what categories competing books are listed in, because Amazon will allow you to add your book to up to 10 categories in its system. And that is true for each type of book. So your paperback can be in 10 categories, your Kindle, your hardcover, each can be in 10 separate categories. So do this research. nerdybookgirl.com, Book Category Hunter is a great tool. And then you can also go over to Amazon, search for books, similar books that are written by competitors, books that your target audience is reading. Look on the book page and you will see the categories that Amazon only lists 2 or 3 of the categories, even if it's listed in 10, but you will be able to start building a list of up to 10. I would say make a list of 10 categories for each edition. Then go to your Authors Central account and contact support there. This used to be kind of a secret, but they now have an option to request your book be added to up to 10 categories. And in that email, you simply list your book title and ISBN number and ask them to add it to the following categories. You list the Amazon categories, and then you do the same with your Kindle and your paperback or whatever other editions that you have. And usually within a day, they've done this. And then you can go back to the Nerdy Book Girl site and double check to make sure that they've been added. All right, so this is important. Remember, we want visibility. And by the way, you can do this in other marketplaces. So if your books are selling well in the UK or India or Canada or whatever it is, you can set these up, the categories in those different Amazon properties, also through Author Central. All right, and again, I'll take your questions at the end, pop them in the Q&A. We will go through your questions. I know I'm going through this material quickly, but I want to make sure we have time for your questions at the end. All right, so let's talk more about how to optimize for Amazon. You need to think about Amazon as a search engine. As much as we search Google for information, we search Amazon, right? And we search Amazon for books, for products, for topics we're interested in. We search Amazon. So the real goal as authors and book publishers is to make sure your book is discoverable when somebody is searching for what you write about. Users don't just search for book titles. Surely we do that as well, but we're also searching for topics we're interested, books about running, books about pet care, memoirs about addiction, whatever it is. People are searching for those types of topics. And Amazon doesn't publish their algorithms, and algorithms means how they decide what books show up in the top of a search result. When I search for books about running, Amazon goes to work and it's got all these factors called algorithms that decide which books are going to be displayed first, second, third, fourth, 50th in the list of search results. We want our books to show up in the top 10 of Amazon search results, because anything below that is probably not going to get seen as nearly as often as books in the top 10 of a search result. So we believe Amazon's algorithms are looking at recent sales history. How much is your book selling? And now this is like that cart before the horse thing, but the fact is sales create sales. So when your book is selling well, Amazon is giving it a higher priority in its search results because it views that book as being popular. Click-through rate and conversion rates. I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute, but it just means that when your book shows up in search results, how often does it get clicked on? And then the conversion rate is how often does that click become a purchase? So if people are seeing your book in search results and they're not clicking on it, if the title doesn't grab them or the cover, maybe it doesn't have enough book reviews, you're not getting click-throughs. And then if the click-throughs aren't converting into sales, something isn't in alignment there either. So these are things that Amazon is looking at. They also care about the number of book reviews you have. So you want to always be adding book reviews or inviting people to contribute book reviews. And then keyword phrases are super important. So let's go through some of these. Keywords on Amazon, as I said, think of it as a search engine. What are readers using to find a book like yours? And what you want to do is identify your top maybe 2 or 3 search phrases, books about running, books about marathon, memoir about marathon. What is it that you think your audience is searching for? And you want to incorporate those key phrases as much as you can into the title of your book. I know that's not easy to do. So that's, if you can fit it into that title or subtitle. But the metadata is basically the information that you feed to Amazon and other retailers when your book is published or your publisher feeds to these sources. So you want to include specific keyword phrases in that metadata. Now, if you're publishing through KDP or Lulu or Ingram Spark, you have fields to add keyword phrases, and you want to make sure you're taking full advantage of those with thoughtful keyword phrases that you believe your audience is searching for. And then we also want to incorporate those phrases into the sales copy, the description of the book, and as much as possible in the content of your book page, and save those keyword phrases because they're also useful in Amazon ads and on your website. So figuring out your keywords. I'm sure you're like, what are my keywords? I don't know. Here are some tools that I like. neilpatel.com. He has a great tool called Uber Suggest. I think it's free for your first 3 searches, and you can come back every day and get 3 more, or you can subscribe to it, but it's great. You type in a keyword phrase, book about running, and it will come back and give you different keywords that would be potentially popular about that. In this example, I have memoir about grief, grief share book on grief recovery, best books on grief recovery. So these are the searches people are putting into Google. He's taking this off of Google, but they're also putting them into Amazon. PublisherRocket.com is another great tool by Dave Chesson. It is a paid service. It's pretty inexpensive. I don't know, under $100. So also worthwhile if you want to get a hold of your keywords. And again, these are useful in Amazon advertising, but Amazon advertising also has built-in tools you can use for free to search for keyword recommendations. So I know this can be a little overwhelming, but it's a really important exercise to understand what is your audience searching for so that your book can be discovered. And here's another example. In fact, I think we showed this earlier. Oh, I did. So self-published book in first position. But if you look at any search you do on Amazon, if you search for books about grief or running or diabetes or blood sugar or whatever it is you're searching for on Amazon, you should be noticing now that the top of the search results always include sponsored products. And you will see that denoted at the top of the ad. And that's true for all products on Amazon, by the way. If you're searching for vitamins or hairbrushes or whatever it is, there are sponsored ads on Amazon. And now as authors and publishers, we have the ability to also place sponsored ads and help increase that visibility for our books, but you're also competing with sponsored ads. So it's even better if your book can show up as a sponsored and a natural result on the searches. So just keep in mind, your keywords are so important. They're, one of the main reasons that I believe traditionally published books from the biggest publishers in the world perform well, especially on sites like Amazon, in part is because they know how to manage keywords and put that into their metadata and work it into the descriptions of their books. So pay attention to that, because I bet you're going to see some themes there. And the great news is self-published authors, you can compete with this. You just have to follow some of these optimization steps to help your book start to gain momentum on Amazon. So, this is my challenge to you. Go identify a couple of phrases, 2 or 3 of your top phrases, incorporate them into your book sales page, and build that list of keywords. Come up with as many as you can, because they are useful for a bunch of reasons. On your author website, you can be using those key phrases to drive people to your website. In the blog contents you write, in podcast episodes you produce, use those keywords well, because people are searching for them if you have done your research. All right, so another factor in those Amazon algorithms are book reviews. Amazon wants to see that you have book reviews, and not just 2 or 3. They want to see book reviews growing with time. It tells Amazon that your book is popular, that readers like your book. And believe me, I sympathize that it is difficult to get book reviews, and people will say they'll give you a review and then they never do it. I like to think, it's just that we're busy and people forget, but they have good intentions. If they're telling you, they're going to do it. We want to get in the habit of asking people to write those reviews. There is some belief that Amazon's algorithms kind of kick into higher gear the more reviews you have. I've heard all different numbers. Once you have 50 reviews, once you have 75, once you have 95, nobody knows for sure, because Amazon doesn't publish this information, but we believe that once your book has a certain number of reviews, Amazon's algorithms start giving it a little more love. It shows up in more books that people will like, things like that. So ultimately, our goal is to get as many reviews as possible. Of course, verified purchases are our best reviews. This means that the reviewer bought the book and it gets tagged with a verified purchase. I'll say I'm usually skeptical if I look at a book or any product on Amazon that doesn't have a lot of verified purchases. You want those mixed in. Now, they don't all need to be verified, but I would like to see more verified than non-verified, because I think users and Amazon know that those aren't necessarily as legitimate as verified reviews. So here are some of the guidelines around reviews on Amazon. You don't have to purchase a book on Amazon to write a review for it. As long as you're an Amazon user and you've spent $50 on the site in the last year, you can post a review. When you send out review copies, or you ask, peers or clients or beta readers to review your book, make sure they put on there, I received an advanced review copy in exchange for my honest review. This is going to help prevent reviews from disappearing. And it also helps explain why maybe a review isn't a verified purchase. So this is important. There's a lot of controversy about Amazon removing reviews from books and things like that. This should be some insurance that Amazon is not going to remove that review, because the reviewer has been honest in saying, I have access to this book. Now, when I say ask your tribe of influence, ask the people that you know. So, friends and family, that's always tricky. You don't want fake reviews. You want reviews from people who actually did read the book. So be thoughtful about that. Ask peers, ask maybe fellow authors, swap each other's books, do that kind of thing. But, you don't want Aunt Susie going in there and saying, oh, I just loved Janie's book. It was so fun to read it. I'm so proud of her. I mean, we just don't want that kind of thing happening. You want your reviews to be legitimate. So, you're really not supposed to be having those people write your reviews. You also cannot ask your publisher, your editor, anyone involved in your book production. It is against Amazon's terms for those people to write a review of your book. It can get them banned, and it can also get that review removed. And you also cannot offer incentive. And I see this a lot. You might say, give my book a review and I'll give you a free report or something, or a free bonus chapter or something, or workbook. Amazon you can get yourself banned from Amazon by doing incentives for reviews. So please do not do that, and never ever pay for fake reviews. This has been a controversial thing for a long, long time. Amazon has really cracked down on it. So please don't go paying for reviews. I think that's a given with this audience. Lots of ways to get book reviews for free. I love to reach out to Amazon reviewers, people who have previously reviewed similar books. So if you go to Amazon and you click on, you go to competing books and you click on any reviewer there, every reviewer on Amazon has a public profile. Now, many of them will make their profile visible and include their email address or a website address so that they can be contacted because they want to receive copies of books to review. So look to Amazon reviewers. Look to the people in your network, your peers, your beta readers, those folks. Reach out to industry bloggers, offer review copies to the right people, to your target audience that will be interested. If you get an email, when you get an email from a reader, which are always so fun to get, your response should be, thank you so much for the email. If you haven't already, could you please take a moment to write a review on Amazon? Just get in the habit of constantly asking for those reviews. Now, if you want to spend a little money on reviews, I really like Book Review Targeter software by Debbie Drum, getbookreviewsnow.com. Again, the pricing, I'm never up on what the pricing is. It's inexpensive. And what it does is it crawls Amazon. You put in your competing book titles, and it goes out and pulls all the public reviewer information. So it saves you a lot of time on that research. I think it's worthwhile. Midwest Book Review has been around a long time. They will do a review, and they used to post on Amazon. I believe they're still doing that. NetGalley is an option. It's another paid service. Promotion sites, BookBub, AuthorBuzz, Bargain Booksy. There's a ton of these. You have to apply for these. It is a paid promotion site. It's meant to be like a discount way to sell your books. Those can generate additional reviews. And then there are editorial reviews. Those come from Kirkus, Forward, things like that. And that is a paid review, but it's from an editorial perspective. It goes on the editorial section of your book page. All right, Amazon Author Central. Let's shift gears. This is really important. Once the minute your book is published on Amazon, you want to go to authorcentral.amazon.com and claim your book and set up your author profile. If you already have a book and you haven't set up Author Central, do this today. It is a great free tool from Amazon, and you log in with your existing Amazon account. This is a look at my Author Central homepage. They're constantly changing this homepage, so I'm always having to refresh these screenshots, but this is what it looks like as of yesterday. And it shows your books. And then if you go to the books tab here, you can select any of your books, and then you can click on them. So I click on my nonfiction book publishing plan, and it shows me two different editions, my Kindle edition and my paperback edition. And I can click on either of those, and it will allow me to update I can add editorial reviews. I can update the book description. I can add a personal note from the author. So there's these extra fields where you can add content. Now, updating your book description, if it came out and it's just got a paragraph of information, please go expand that description. Work in those keyword phrases. Add to the appeal of helping readers want to read your book. How is this book going to impact my life in some way? So this is a powerful free tool, and you can change the copy on each edition of your book separately. There's a field called from the back cover, which is kind of odd. I use that for my table of contents. I know this is odd, but if you're really trying to dig into my book page, you can see the full table of contents for the book. And I think that's important. This is keywords. I think this is interesting to some potential readers. So, and Amazon lets you do these things. So here's a look at my book's sales page on Amazon. I put in a Publishers Weekly, gave me a review. So that's in there. That's an editorial review. And then, of course, there's a note from the author. And then again, that from the back cover I use for table of contents. Get those keywords in there as much as you can. And then your author's central bio also shows up on your book page. This is from my book page. My co-author is my buddy, Carl Polachek. All right, so update your book sales page. Like I said, so important. Make sure you're using that space really, really well. You can also format your text there. So if you don't know HTML tags, and I guess, most of us don't, I happen to, but most of us don't, there's a free tool, kindlepreneur.com/Amazon-book-description-generator. If somebody would post that in the chat, I'm sure others would appreciate it. But this is a really great tool for putting in your copy, and then it puts your bold and your italics and your bullets, and you copy that code out and paste it into your Author Central for your book description. And now you will have bolded and italicized and bulleted text. All right, there's a reports tab. I find those reports aren't super reliable. They generally under-report. This is the data that they're pulling from BookScan. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's useful and interesting to look at the reports. And of course, Amazon's constantly trying to get us to use their marketing services. I will say I love this new feature, book recommendations. This is very new to your Author Central account. If you haven't been on your account lately, go there, because you should have a section on the marketing and reports tab to add book recommendations. Basically, they have this like interview that says, my most talk about book is, and you fill in your book. Now, this is great, especially if you have multiple books. My book I wish more readers knew about is, and you can add your book there. It has additional questions. If you're new to my work, I recommend starting with this book. If you want to get lost in a story, that doesn't apply to me. I would have loved to put nonfiction book publishing plan in the if you are new to my work, but it only let you put one book in one category here. But how all of this translates, it also, if you go further down, you can recommend books by other authors. And I did this really quickly. I was trying to test it out. So I put in Ann Janzer's book. I put in Seth Godin. A book I couldn't put down was Tribes. And that's all true. A book I left an impression on me, Ogilvy on Advertising, which I read like 15 years ago, but it was a game-changing book. So you can recommend books by others, right? So team up with your peers and things like that. Maybe you can recommend each other's books. So what happens on my Amazon author page, you will see my book recommendations that include the other books I recommended and my own books. Okay, but here's what's even more interesting. Amazon says once you submit these, they may add your suggestions to a marketing email. So it's potentially free advertising. If you have past readers who have read your books, Amazon will notify them when you have a new book release, and those readers are all tracked in Amazon. So if your current book has sold 1,000 copies and you put these updates into your Amazon profile, Amazon may send an email to those 1,000 buyers and say, here are some other books that Susie Author recommends. So there's no guarantee, but that is what they're saying they will do. You have nothing to lose by testing this out. It just takes a couple of quick minutes to set it up in your Author Central. All right, A+ content. I know we're covering a lot of ground here, and I want to get through this quickly so that we can do your questions. But A+ content is the images that you see on a lot of book pages. So here's an example, Paw Prints on Our Heart. When you scroll down, you see that they have these lovely visual images on their book page. This is called A+ content. If you're published through KDP, you can do this. If you're not published through KDP, and you have a publisher, they should be able to do this. They may be able to do this. Let me say that, because the Amazons are really limiting this ability. But if you're published through KDP, even if it's just your Kindle edition that's in KDP, you can set up A+ content. Here's an example from Ann Janzer, her workbook, and the images that she created along with some text. And I love that you can add text to your A+ content. So A+, benefits of doing this, obviously create more visual appeal, highlight some really cool features about your book, incorporate those keyword phrases into the book descriptions and the content that you share there, showcase any awards or recognition that you've received. It just elevates your credibility. What you cannot do, Amazon, as usual, has lots of guidelines. You can't put a promo or pricing deal. You can't have limited offers. You can't have guarantees or promises, false promises, which we can't do anyway. So the full guidelines are over there under KDP. It's really easy to find. I played with this and I was shocked at what they allowed me to put there. So you're allowed to use images, written copy. I was shocked that they let me put in the logo for Nonfiction Authors Association. I was quite sure that would get declined because these are reviewed by humans, but they left it in there. So I guess that's not on the do not list. They let me do that. So it's interesting to test it out. I want to spend a little more time and have some actual nice graphics created, but it's fun to play with. They also allow you to create a comparison chart. So if you have multiple books or a series of books, you can actually create a comparison chart and create all your own content here with the images. You can create more about you and about the author with more content, logos, things like that. There's a lot you can do here. So again, you must be published through KDP. The interface is a little clunky, but you can get through it. They do have some really good guidelines and materials on this. Go to kdp.amazon.com/marketing/manager. You can also do this from your KDP dashboard in the marketing menu option next to your book title. And again, you'll see the content guidelines, you'll see the creation guidelines, and it kind of walks you through all of that. And I would recommend reading that before you proceed to prepare anything. All right, quickly, just want to mention, this is a whole multi-hour explanation by itself, but Amazon ads can really be effective, especially for those of us writing nonfiction. You're seeing sponsored books all over Amazon. And at one point, this was only available to KDP authors. Amazon ads are now available to all authors. So if you're published elsewhere, you should be able to access Amazon ads and run ads on your books. Sponsored books show up at the top of searches. And they also show up in book pages. So there are multiple types of ads. Automatic is where you give Amazon a budget, you let them figure out your ads. I'm not a super fan of those. I'd rather you take all that keyword research you did and set up your own pay-per-click ads based on keywords that people are searching for, similar book titles, things like that. You want to set a daily budget. I recommend $5 or $10 a day if you can, but it's a good idea to probably get some help setting these up if you're not super comfortable with this kind of thing. I mentioned Mark Paul earlier. I just think he's a wonderful case study because he's a guy with absolutely no online platform, no social media. He's not out speaking at events or doing any of that stuff. When Mark published his book, in full disclosure, I worked with him directly. He said, I'm going all in on Amazon ads. I'm going to make this book sell. And he did. So in fact, he's up to 40,000 copies. I just got an email from him last week. So 40,000 copies, and that includes all editions, the Kindle, the print. But it's done really, really well. And it's a memoir. Memoirs are not always that easy to sell for an unknown person. But he was very savvy about it. It's about placing a bet on a filly to win the Kentucky Derby back in the 80s. It reads like a novel, which memoirs should. And it's done really well. And other opportunities have come as a result of that. I asked him recently, what are your average monthly copies sold? So as of August of 20, I guess that was a while ago, 2021, 40 audio, 200 print, 150 ebook. Isn't that interesting? So let's bring this all home and take your questions. So Amazon success, incorporate those keywords. They are essential to the success of your book sales. Claim your book in Author Central, update the content, take advantage of the A+ content, request your 10 categories, get those reviews going, and then test those Amazon ads. I think all of these things can really make a difference in your book sales on Amazon. All right, I want to take your questions. Please put them in the Q&A. I'm going to take as many as I can. And before I do that, please indulge me. I would want to quickly share some information about our book marketing master course that starts next week. This is my third time delivering it live. I only do it once a year. These slides were pulled straight out of that course. It's a condensed version of one of the weekly modules. And I would love to have you join me for this course. It begins on Thursday, the 26th. We physically mail you a 230-page workbook. And really, if you learn something from this today, imagine how much you could learn in 6 weeks. Let me just say that. So here are the topics we cover each week. We talk about target audience, owning your niche. Whether or not you want to become an influencer, you really want to claim a target audience and serve them. And we go through how do you do that? We talk about your websites, your content marketing strategy, how to launch a book, how to get publicity and get on podcasts and radio and television. We talk about more Amazon sales strategies beyond what we've covered today. And we talk about strategies to keep those book marketing wheels turning. We talk about how to get into professional speaking, and just all kinds of ground is covered in 6 weeks. We also have an optional certification for publishing pros. So if you're a book marketing consultant or a virtual assistant or a book coach or somebody who works with authors in any capacity, you can join our certification program. You take 6 quizzes with the modules. And once you pass those with 85% or better, you receive certification. You get a bunch of benefits. Here are some of our certified participants. They're listed under our recommended resources, and they're hearing from people looking for service providers. So I think it's a really valuable offering. So if you sign up today, or if you're already registered for the course, you qualify for the bonus I'm offering today. If you register today, you will get a report on how to break into professional speaking, 100 ways to grow your email list with lead magnets, and book marketing task list for virtual assistants. So the list you hand over to a virtual author's assistant. We will send you these today if you register for the course. If you've already registered for the course and you would like these bonuses, please send an email to Chela, C-H-E-L-A, at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. Chela can also help you manually register if you're not comfortable registering online. So you do this by going to bookmarketingmastercourse.com. I'd appreciate it if someone would pop that in the chat. You can also find it at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. It's in our sidebar. It's in our menu for upcoming events. And I would love to have you join me. I love getting to know our students. It's an interactive process, very much like what we're doing today and with the Q&A, but I get to know more about you and what you're writing about and give you suggestions. All right, I think we did it. I am going to stop sharing and take your 52 questions. Holy mackerel, you guys. Okay, we're going to go through as many as we can in the next 15 minutes. I think you can vote up questions. So if you want to get in there and vote up questions, we'll do as many as we can. I'm going from the top here. Google search against the guy who murdered his wife. Okay, that's yeah. All right, that's true. I did see that, Stuart. Can I suggest categories to Amazon if they're not listed on there already? D. No. Oh, can you ask Amazon to create categories? No. I do not know of a way to do that. It's really hard to communicate with Amazon. They're, let's be honest, not super friendly to wanting to make life easier for authors and publishers. So wouldn't it be nice if we could? But you might do some research. You might be surprised a subcategory exists that you didn't even realize. So look at those competing book titles to see. Catherine, can I get an audiobook on Amazon without offering another format, paperback? Catherine, yes. So you do that through Audible. And you do, so Amazon's Audible self-publishing service is acx.com. ACX is a self-publishing platform. It will get your audiobook onto Audible, which will then also go to Amazon. I also really like Findaway Voices. And Findaway Voices is a tool to publish to Amazon and other audiobook platforms. And so it's not Amazon exclusive. And so that's another option, but either of those will get you to Amazon. And there's also Auditiva, I believe, is one of our partners. I'm sure Carla will post some information in the chat. Let's see, if an author changes her categories, will past sales count towards the rank in the new category chosen? So Ellen, because category ranking is literally changing by the hour, it doesn't really matter because those category ranks, how well my book sold yesterday really have little impact on today. So it's based on current sales that are changing throughout each day. So the category change shouldn't make any difference there. Is there a limit in the number of categories, Tish? Yes, you can have up to 10 categories on Amazon. How do you combat authors placing books in totally inappropriate categories? Why does Amazon allow it? I don't know. They do, and I don't know. Amazon is a beast. It's just really hard. I think they have employees that don't care, and therefore they just put them in categories that don't align. Is there a place that lists all potential categories to choose from? Not that I am aware of. Again, use that Nerdy Book Girl link and look for categories for competing books, books in your genre, similar books. You'll get plenty of category ideas from those. What if you do not request categories for other Amazon national units? Dan, I'm assuming you mean international Amazon properties. I mean, you know, if you don't have a big, maybe if you have a big audience, maybe you're from the UK and you have a following there, it makes sense. But if you're not from the UK and maybe UK accounts for 1 or 2% of your book sales, you probably don't need to spend a bunch of time doing categories for them. It's really up to you and how much you want to put that effort in. But if you're trying to build an audience there, I would say it's probably worth your time. Lee, for a category, is this only for new books or does it also include used book sales? So category rankings, I'm assuming you mean the rankings, and do used book sales count? Am I understanding that question correctly? I do not believe used book sales are helping your category rank. I could be wrong about that, but I don't believe so. Dan, what are the increments of ratings used by the algorithm if it uses them? We don't know exactly. Amazon does not publish its algorithms, so it's just a lot of speculation in our industry. Ellen, may we see the slide that shows the email to send from Amazon? I will send out the slides, Ellen, later today. So you will get those within the next couple of hours, and all the email addresses will be there, or the email information will be there. Can I recommend consultants or websites that help with conversion rates as influenced by cover and description effectiveness? Dan, great question, Dan. We have a lot of book marketing coaches recommended on the nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com under recommended resources. Maybe somebody could post that link for you. I would say most of those folks would be fully capable of helping you basically audit your book page, audit the book cover, the book description. You might need a copywriter to help you write a better book description, but it's not a bad idea to hire someone to audit that information because it really does impact how well your book is selling on Amazon. Yes, we will send out the recording and the slides. Lisa, we did a bestseller campaign, but now I need to create a plan to get marketing going forward. I have 2 listings. I tried to search and got a message. ISBN is invalid. I don't know what to tell you about that, Lisa. You might contact Nerdy Book Girl. I just don't have any insight into her back end stuff there. Maybe it just needs to get indexed again. What is the title of the book you mentioned at the very beginning? I don't know what you mean by the book I mentioned at the very beginning, Stuart. Maybe somebody else knows the answer to that. I mentioned a bunch of different books. Do you recommend sponsoring ads on Amazon for novels, financial nonfiction? Yeah, I do. I absolutely think Amazon ads are great. If you want someone to set up your Amazon ads or assistance in getting that set up, bookgeeksmarketing.com. Bookgeeksmarketing.com is a great resource. Janet used to be an Amazon employee, and she is a consultant who helps authors set up their Amazon ads. So that's a great resource if you want some help doing that. What do you think about the strategy of doing Kindle Unlimited download weekends to your followers in order to hopefully bump up verified reviews? Tish, so, I mean, I will be honest, I'm not a super fan of the KDP Select Kindle Unlimited stuff for nonfiction writers, unless you have multiple books. I think that program where you basically give books away for free or discount them to 99 to 2.99 or 99 cents or 2.99 is a great strategy for fiction writers who have a series. So they're trying to give away the first book in the series and hook people into buying additional books in the series. Fantastic. But if you are an author of one nonfiction book and it's your only book, I mean, you can test it out and see if it boosts anything, but I don't know of any nonfiction authors who've had great success with those specific campaigns. I do hear success with things like Free Booksy and BookBub. So if you're able to get into those campaigns, I just think the visibility is really great. It targets your specific readers. If I were to pick one or the other, I would pick those instead. Susan, is Amazon removing reviews from pictures purchased at an author sales event? I'm not sure I understand that question, Susan. No, they're not. I mean, if they're trying to scan your photos, no, I don't believe they're doing that. No. Yeah, we do believe they're looking at social media contacts and things like that. But again, if people say, I received an advanced copy of this book or I purchased this book elsewhere, that will help Amazon's human filters not remove those reviews. My understanding is that reviews that appeared during the pre-sale are only allowed for books that are traditionally published. So Victoria, yeah, unfortunately, if you set your book up as a pre-sale on Amazon, as a self-published author, you're not allowed to acquire reviews until the day the book is officially released. So that is true. That is a reason I prefer a soft launch personally. And a soft launch is where instead of pre-sales, you quietly launch the book and then you get all your ducks in a row. You ask your beta readers to write their reviews. You make sure all your content looks great on your book sales page. You claim it at Author Central, and you maybe spend a week or so getting these things in order and then you announce it. That's just my personal preference. Tish, does number of follow the author clocks get you factored into search results listing at all? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, following, and that's the little button next to your author name that people can follow to stay updated on your books. That is a really cool feature because as people follow you, when you release your next book, Amazon is likely notifying those people. If it's a significant number of people that have bought your book or have followed your book, Amazon will notify them. I love hearing about this. Every time I release a book, people forward me emails saying, oh, look, Amazon let me know about your new book. So they will absolutely do that. How to get the wrong books from being attributed to me. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Author Central is a great source of customer service at Amazon, and that's like an oxymoron, great customer service at Amazon. But if you need help at Amazon, Author Central support is generally very helpful and quickly responsive, usually within the same day, if not 24 hours, where KDP support can be slower and frustrating in my personal experience. Where is the editorial review tab to add an editorial review? Nico, that is under your book's content. So when you go in to edit the description on your book, there is a section to add an editorial review in your Author Central account. Is there a disadvantage to not having a table of contents for a novel? I don't think so. Amazon exclude mutual ratings among 2+ authors. I'm not sure I understand that question, Dan. Some books have reviews before their publication. That's coming from traditional publishers. Yeah, pre-orders for self-published don't work. Only the traditional publishers have that ability. Where do I find exactly, where do you review other books on our author page? I'm having a hard time with these questions, guys. I'm not sure I understand that. Where do you review other books on our author page? I don't know if you can clarify that. I'll try to help. Is there any quick method for finding out just how many books I've sold totally through Amazon? You'll need to look at your distributor for that information. So you should be able to generate reports through your distributor. What is KDP? For those of you who aren't familiar, is Amazon's publishing platform, Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP. Anything to be done with 1-star reviews if they're nonsensical? Oh, those darn, reviews. You can hit the report button. You can ask other people to hit the report button. Amazon generally doesn't remove those reviews unless they are really bad, like defamatory or, just really nonsensical might qualify. But for the most part, those reviews don't really go anywhere. My strategy that I recommend, if you get 1 or 2-star review periodically, and by the way, we all will, just try to bury them under better, newer reviews. Now, if you're getting lots of 1 and 2-star reviews, that's a problem to pay attention to. But I would say, as a general rule, we're all going to face negative reviews and never be able to please everybody. Lisa, I used to have a video RSS feed in my blog on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon removed all those features. They're not really wanting to help us. The reason Author Central exists is to limit what Amazon has to do. Because if you want to update your sales copy on your book and you have to constantly contact Amazon support for that, they don't want you to do that. That's why they give you the ability to update your own content. Do they want to manage videos and store all that content? No. So Amazon is out for Amazon. Let's be clear. That's why Author Central promotes paid services and things like that. But it is a great tool that you should be using. I'm going to squeeze in a couple more here. Do you recommend authors going wide with print, that we publish with KDP print for Amazon and then Ingram or Publish Drive for everywhere else? Will this allow us to input A+ content? Is this the only way for our books to be printed and delivered to Amazon Prime in 2 days? Yeah, Carla does teach a publishing master course for us, which is coming up in March. And but I will say I like the combo of publishing through Ingram Spark and or Publish Drive is an up-and-comer, I will say as well. But I personally use Ingram Spark for my print books, and then I use KDP for my Kindle edition. A lot of people do KDP also for print. You can duplicate that effort, but you do not use Amazon's extended distribution. Use Ingram's extended distribution. It's much broader. This is way outside of the scope of what we're talking about today. So folks, we're at the top of the hour. I wish I could have gotten to every question, but I think I got to most of them. And I'd love to help you with more. If you're a member, come join us in the Facebook group. If you're not a member, check us out over at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. As a reminder, Book Marketing Master Course happens next week. I would love to have you there. I can answer your questions there as well. I promise you, it's a course that will be a game changer for your marketing career. I promise that. If you don't feel it is, we will issue 100% satisfaction guarantee always with anything that we do. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. The slides, the recording will all go out this afternoon. I appreciate you all. I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you in our community soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.